Bob, as we kind of talk about, last time we talked about where the cars are, right? And
Yeah.
so where's all that inventory? How's it possible to find inventory and what's going on with our stay-at-home orders and all that kind of stuff that's been happening over the past several months. But now we're going to talk about the customer, the people, where are they at? Because I think things have changed, right? So the
A
landscape
little bit.
now is a little bit different than it has been in the past. I know if you look at different studies pre-COVID, you talked about the average customer visits the dealership 1.4 times. I have to
Yeah.
imagine that number is probably a little bit different right now. So I want to
Oh,
really talk about where those people are. So it's not just all about the cars, right?
no, as a matter of fact, it's not. If it was, that'd be easy, right? Most dealers can handle. It's all about the car. Once they find them, they know how to merchandise them. They got resources to help them with that. They're comfortable with that. There's some improvements can be made there, but they're doing a decent job of describing the car and so forth. So when it comes to the car itself, pricing it, pricing, people don't even spend that much time with pricing anymore. They have so many tools and so many market pricing tools and so many things that guide them where to price. It's really taken most of that out of the thought equation. Uh, but the challenge is it's not all about the cars. It's about the dealership too. You see, there's three levels of confidence, right? Especially when people are in the current situation and they're a little nervous. They need all the confidence they can get. So for sure, there's needs to be confidence in the car, right? We certainly help them with that. Describing the car helps with that. And there's confidence in the pricing. Now, there's plenty of tools out in the marketplace to help with pricing. We have our own history-based value tool, but there's others in the marketplace that assist them with market pricing and so forth. It's that third element, which is really the challenge, and that's confidence in the dealer too, right? If you think about it as a consumer out in today's environment, there's a lot of pressure on there to be safe and be careful. You can't even do business in all locations, right? So it really takes a lot of effort to make them as comfortable as they can about coming to your business and doing business, right? Can they come in? Is it safe? Is there an environment? You hear all kinds of things from delivering online to door-to-door service to touchless service. There's all kinds of aspects, but without question, there's three levels of confidence, right? You have confidence in the vehicle, confidence in the pricing, but more importantly, you need to have confidence built in your dealership and the way you do business with consumers. And that's really the challenging part.
And that seems to be somewhat missing, right? So if we talk about social media, and I kind of made a joke about the Facebook. So my wife likes Facebook, and maybe a little bit too much. She likes Facebook. She's on there a lot. I don't know exactly what Facebook is all about, but is it when you're looking at Facebook and you're advertising cars, shouldn't there just be a little bit more to it? So if the dealership maybe talks about them, maybe their identity, their personality, getting that out on social media a little bit more?
You know, I I have no idea. I listen to dealers who are doing it today, um, experiment with social media. Social media today is what the internet was 15 years ago. Oh, that won't stick around. Oh, that's not going to take over. That's not going to affect the business. And then you went through that whole, oh boy, if I put pricing on there, they won't need to contact me. If I tell them too much about the car, they won't need to contact me. And it just takes time. And Facebook and the social media aspects of it today is really what the internet was again 15 years ago. And what really drives it today too is the buyer. Within the next 12 months, the millennial generation is going to comprise 70% of the buyers, and that's where they live, right? They live in that social media aspect. So there's a lot to it. And we can't be experts on everything, DJ. I know we try, right? We certainly listen to dealers. We have a lot of them as partners, and we certainly listen and try to add our own. But there comes a time to bring in an expert. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, maybe in a couple minutes. I kind of like our chat.
Oh,
It's
well,
a little bit. So maybe just because I got a couple other questions that have been kind of stirring around in my head, which is kind of clunky at times. But
okay.
one of my questions is you and I have taught on, how much time people spend prior to actually visiting a dealership, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, there's studies out there that it could be anywhere between 14 hours, 16 hours shopping for a pre-owned vehicle. That seems like a lot of time. Do you think now that people are kind of stuck at home, and I use stuck as a keyword as, they're at home, right? Voluntarily in most cases, but staying safe, right? So as we're staying safe and we have more time, do you think that number's increased on the amount of research? Because it's not something that I really hear about talking or really hear talked about. So, what do you think about that number? Is it more like 25 hours now, or is it less? Are they finding more information? Just curious. And I haven't seen any studies, so I don't think there's anything to really confirm what that is.
That's the challenge, right? Everything's so new. There's educated guesses and there's brief amounts of data. But the actual behavioral change, it is up to 14, 15, 16 hours. So how much past that is really necessary, we don't know. We do know they have more times on their hands, but it's not necessarily idle times. They've got a lot of customers whose kids are at home. You have a lot of customers that are having to homeschool their children, right? You have a lot of customers whose spouses that are home and they're not used to that either, right? So even though they're home more, it's not necessarily more idle time that they can devote to simply searching for a car. So is it up? A guess would tell you slightly it's up, right? But how much more capacity is there when there's so many things in life that are coming at you from all different directions and so many things in life that have changed? But at the end of the day, it's longer than it ever was before, right? The new buyer was there anyway, pre-COVID. They spent more time online than they ever did before. The time spent has gone up because that's where they enjoy finding their stuff. That's where they're confident with third parties and with all the advocates out there and all the different sites rather than just using the dealer's website. So it's always been up there anyway, even pre-COVID. So has it gone up? Yeah, slightly probably, but I don't think it's gone up dramatically. I just think there's so many things coming at them and things that they weren't used to in life that were under control before are now different. So that's the real scatter part of it.
Cool. So, I know you've been in the automotive industry for a long, long time. And so, in talking about that, do you wish you would have had social media back then as we're talking about that?
Sometimes you always want all the avenues you could have, right? When you're in business, you look for every opportunity there is to sell cars. You look for every opportunity there is. But I'm not convinced that I would have wanted it. We were tackling internet back then when that first came out. And I remember that took years to get good at and years to learn and years of pain and struggle and making mistakes and quite honestly, costing yourself money trying to learn. So this is just a whole new ad out there. So for all the dealers getting it done today, my hat's off to them. There's so many things thrown at them today between the new customers, the new social media aspect of it, the COVID coming at them. There's so many things. And that is what makes it vital for them to be able to identify and build confidence in the way they're going to do business and the way they're going to handle that new buyer and communicate the way the new buyer likes to communicate. So with that said, I think we have to bring in someone who might know a little bit more about it than we do, right?
So what you're saying is like, what's that Insta thing? That Insta pot? No, wait, that's cookware.
Instagram.
Oh yeah. Instagram.
Facebook, all that.
The Facebook, all that stuff. Yeah, I think we need a little help. I agree with you.
Yeah, we definitely need a little help. So we're going to get the best help we can. We're very excited to introduce today's guest. She spent 20 years in the marketing and social media aspects of things. She is the owner of Dealer Advocates, right? She is what she likes to refer to as the chief optimizer. So let me introduce the chief optimizer, Miss Marcy Medinger. Hello, Marcy.
Hello, guys. How are you?
We are struggling at best to tackle this subject, which is why we're very excited to bring you into the fold. And I'm sure our guests are excited to have one who actually knows what she's talking about when it comes to the social media. So I guess, Marcy, my first question to you would be, do dealers really even have a plan for social media? I mean, there's so much going on and so much craziness today. And you go to dealers every day, talk to dealers every day about this very topic. Do you find they actually have a plan, or is that what they're asking for help with?
Yeah, no, I haven't met one yet that has a social media strategy. And, it's not their fault. Like you said, dealers wear so many hats. People who market for dealerships wear a million hats and have things thrown at them all the time. This thing's better than sliced bread. And, it's very hard to differentiate and really know what's out there. But you made a great point. People are looking for a dealership they have confidence in, that they feel like they can trust and have a frictionless experience. So how do you create that experience? So, there's the aspect of what I do, which is optimizing their digital tools. But then there's that aspect of, like you said, creating the personality for the dealership, creating a place where people can come and know that they're going to a trusted place of business, and they're going to create a relationship with that dealership, hopefully for life. Place they're going to go back to get their car fixed, to get their tires changed, to buy their kid's car and refer their mom and their dad and their brother and their sister. I mean, that's the relationship ideally that you want to create. You're not looking for the guy who's driving 200 miles, to get $2,000 off, off list, right?
Yeah.
You want the guy actually going to live around the corner and send friends and family and keep coming back. So that's a challenge, right? How do you do that in today's day and age? And social media, especially with the younger generation, really truly is the way to go. But creating a personality, for the dealership is much different than social media advertising. Social media advertising is advertising on Facebook, right? We see it all the time. You're scrolling through your feed, you see a commercial for a car and, a great sale price or whatever. And, many times, even just as a little aside, pay attention to creative people. Like you see an ad on Facebook that says, click here, and it's an ad that they were running somewhere else and you can't actually click on the click here. So, but that's one thing, that's social media advertising. But if you're gonna have people come back to your website or come back to your social media page, you want them to know who you are. What do you do that makes you stand out? How do you take care of your employees? What kind of events do you do? Do you have somebody in your fixed ops department that, their wife just had a baby? People want to see the personality. That's what social media is. It's social. It's not branding. It's social. So there are so many ways to create a personality around a dealership. But we kind of touched on this a little bit. Time and money is certainly probably top of mind, probably for most dealerships. How do you do this in a timely fashion, and what's the ROI? Well, unfortunately, there's no easy solution there to the ROI because it's a long-term plan. But the ROI will be there, and you'll be able to cut down. They'll be able to cut down a ton on their media spend if they just invest a little bit of time and effort into creating that personality.
I wanted to ask you that because that's one of the things dealers reach out to us. We're a consultant in a lot of ways and a partnership in a lot of ways for dealers. And one of the questions they're asking us is it, can you monetize social media, or is it just an image, right? An image. You can't necessarily capitalize on an image and monetize an image. So is there a strategy to where dealers can actually monetize on their social media spend and that kind of thing? Is that even a thing?
Well, yeah. It's really interesting. Even the biggest of dealers don't really, they ask that same question. It's challenging. I was going through my feed the other day and I was served up a story from I think it was a newspaper or TV station up in New York about Basil Ford. And they'd done this wonderful thing. They gave a woman a car who, she'd adopted 3 kids on top of her 3 she already had. It was a beautiful story. And then I went to their Facebook page and there was no link to it on the Facebook page, right? I'm like, so it's opportunities like that. People know the personality of the dealership. And obviously they do a fantastic job. They're community driven, but let people know that because there's always going to be new people moving in. Yes, a dealership like that has a long presence in the community, but continue to establish that presence with a younger generation as they come up, by reaching them where they live, like you said, on social media.
Yeah. It is funny. DJ likes to say, I've been in the business a long time, right? He keeps throwing in those longs. And it's true, right? I ran dealerships for a lot of years. And to me, anyone that's from my generation of running dealerships, really this whole social is brand new, right? And it's not comfortable for my generation of dealer operators and stuff. So the questions they come out with are just that. It's not that they're disbelieving. It's not that they're doubting. It's because they don't truly understand, right? Just like when the internet came out, like DJ and I were talking about earlier, it's kind of, if you went back 15 years, this is the same kind of questions dealers were asking about the internet. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And and it's super complicated. Even, connecting Instagram to Facebook, right? How do you do that? A lot of dealers don't know how to do that. And you have to post on Instagram by mobile. You can't post on Instagram via a desktop. A lot of dealers don't know that. But you can connect your Instagram and your Facebook and then push that Instagram post directly to Facebook. You don't have to post twice. You just have to post one time. But simple things like that nobody explains, nobody tells the dealer. And typically people who are selling advertising